This is the Real Footy Podcast. Thanks for joining us to tip round 11. My name is Andrew Wu and I'm joined, as always, by Pete Ryan, who is still holding on in the lead with Michael Gleeson.
Very narrow lead. Gleeson and I didn't have our best week. 5 was okay, but Carlton let us down, and that was the 50-50 game of the round, and we went on the wrong side. They were pretty disappointing in that last quarter. Kind of ruined my Friday night, between 10 and 11 o'clock.
You were still right up until three-quarter time, weren't you?
Yeah. Just, by the way you said, I'm joined as always, you sounded a bit disappointed. But don't have much enthusiasm to that, as always.
Don't read too much into the tone.
No, well, I don't, but, and then we've got Jake next on 61.
Jake's on 61. Sam's on 60. He's usually a cellar dweller, so he's having a good year.
Sam's won it a couple of times. He won it in 2020, I can absolutely guarantee.
Yeah, West Coast won flags in the 90s as well. Jimmy Bartell's on 59. Callum, our media writer's on 59, and I'm 7th, 58. I've consolidated in the last
You've come good.
month.
That's not far off the pace setters.
Well, only 4 off, so I'm one round away from really getting into it. So.
It's only round 11 this week,
very
isn't
early.
It?
If you're within 4 going into the last 6 weeks, I think you're still within touching distance. So I'm not in the mood yet to do anything.
It was a tough
silly.
round.
Oh, it was very tough because who would have thought that Brisbane would get rolled by Melbourne at the Gabba? Because
you said they were a certainty. Yeah, woohoo! Yes.
I thought they'd get up.
What do you have to do these days? Sing?
Oh, no, we don't have to sing. We just have to...
we are the boys from...
Old Fitzroy. We just got to find some scapegoats. And look, I'm going to start with the person in the mirror because I really shouldn't have made Brisbane my lock because they're not going that well.
No.
And I should have known from the week before when they drew with North Melbourne that they weren't going that well.
No, that's right. Jim Diamond, mate. I should have known better.
Yeah, but I also thought that Melbourne, the first month would kind of be the Melbourne that we know of 25. They're a bit better than that, aren't they? Their last month's been okay. They've won. They've beaten moderate teams. And
they're getting better.
They're getting better. And I thought that, as much as they were getting better, they would not get better enough to beat Brisbane. But I was wrong. I apologise to the listeners. And
no one at Brisbane was at fault, clearly. You've just taken it all on board. You've done the law again.
It's not their fault that I tipped them. It's just like it wasn't so-and-so's fault that they got taken at pick 3 or whatever. It's my fault for picking them.
I'm the tipster, so it's on me.
I take full responsibility for that.
Well done. Well, that's brave of you. Let's get on to more serious business.
Yes, first game of the round.
It's an absolute corker, isn't it?
The Bailey Smith Cup at GMHBA Stadium. Geelong against the Western Bulldogs. Bailey Smith's first game against his former club, in case you didn't realise.
Who?
Bailey Smith. Baslenka.
Baslenka's added a bit to this season, hasn't he?
He's added a lot to Geelong.
Yeah, added a lot to Geelong because he's playing great footy, and even his personality can kind of,
I like him. He's authentic. Yeah. He's a bit loose.
He's kind of likeable, but kind of annoying,
Well, see, I just like...
No, but I mean that in
colours.
the nicest possible way. I don't mean that to say that he's, bad or anything. I'm just saying it's kind of whatever, man.
He is a bit of whatevs.
Yeah.
This modern day lingo, whatevs.
But he's playing really good footy.
He's playing excellent footy, and he's made a huge difference at Geelong because he's turned that midfield into a more dynamic midfield that's no longer relying on Max Holmes for all the run.
Yeah, that's right. They are a good combination, 1-2 punch. I think the Cats, though, it's hard to tip against them when they're playing at home, even though they lost to the Giants. But Dangerfield is such a big out.
Yeah.
Such a big out. He can split teams, as in it can be tight, and then Dangerfield does something that just puts you a couple of goals up. Him not being available means that I'm leaning to the Bulldogs to continue their good form and get the job done.
Big call. Well,
they've just been impressive. And this time last year, Luke Beveridge was talking about their lack of consistency. They've been the most... Hawthorn, Brisbane, Collingwood have been pretty good too. But in terms of consistency, you know what you're going to get at the moment with the Bulldogs, which you could not say about them the last couple of years.
And generally, it's been of a high standard that you're going to get from the Dogs this year. More on that trade. Bailey Smith moving to Geelong has actually helped both clubs because the Bulldogs midfield, they haven't suffered for it. Geelong's midfield, as we said before, is
That's
strong.
true, although they
before it.
didn't have him last year.
No, but having Ed Richards, Bont, Libba, I think Brad Scott said last week, one of them will get you. And then they add Matt Kennedy to the mix, just adds that extra depth. I'm tipping the Cats because as well as the Dogs have played, I've had a look at who they've beaten, and that's a slight query on them. They haven't beaten they're 1-3 against top 8 teams, even though they were very good against Collingwood and who else they lose to in the top 8? Gold Coast, and there's one other team, but their
Port
losses
Adelaide
have been...
got them over there, didn't they? Over in, I would gather,
Dogs,
Brisbane got them over.
got them.
Yeah, got them over
when they'd been 4 or 5 goals up. So their form's just that little query on the top 8 teams, whereas Geelong have done the job against the top 8 sides.
Yep.
For that reason, and because they're at home, I'm tipping the Cats by 8 points. But I do note the Dogs have beaten them twice, the last 2 times.
They have. They've got a good
Geelong.
record. That was a wet night. I seem to remember one of those occasions at least.
You would have been there, weren't you, on your night off before you go to your 10:30 gig?
Well, this time last year I was in France.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched the game from there. So, big deal as life goes on and you're not quite in that spot again. But, the Bulldogs have got a lot to play for because if they can knock off a top 4 team, they're actually sitting above Geelong, by the way, on the ladder. But if they can knock off a team that's around them competing for the top 4, that makes their season look a lot stronger.
Or puts them in the top 4, I would
and their
think.
defence, they get Liam Jones back.
I think he's going to play VFL this week.
Is he?
Yeah. He got left out before he got injured.
Okay, and then we've got Aaron Norton's due.
He's been... I guess been terrible, but he's been enough of a reference point for them.
And I think I remember Rory Lobb playing an outstanding game this time last year.
Hasn't he been a remarkable story the last 12 months? Because he actually looks really good in defence.
I know, it's
He's
bizarre,
so solid.
Isn't it?
And you wouldn't have associated him with being solid.
100 to 1 that he would be a good defender. So credit to Beveridge and credit to Rory Lobb to make that work. Going to be a great game. Geelong is going to be absolutely buzzing.
Yeah,
this is as exciting as it gets in Geelong.
You'll be there, won't you? You'll be recovering the game.
Yeah, I'll be
Mr. Geelong. I'm tipping the Cats by 8 points.
Yeah, I'm tipping the Bulldogs by 1 point, which is my indication of I've got no idea.
Looks like I'll be pulling one back from you this week.
I hope you do, for your sake.
Next game, Friday night footy, dream time at the MCG, Essendon against Richmond. It's normally a Saturday night. This game. It's on a Friday night. I dare say that Channel 7's got something to do with this.
I think it was Friday night last year, was it?
No, I think it's generally always been Saturday.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I wrote about it last year. But Essendon, yes, Channel 7 would want that game. I think they've got in the broadcast agreement that they actually get to show Dreamtime, Anzac Day, a few of the marquee games free to air, guaranteed regardless of which day they fall. You will find in the broadcast agreement.
I prefer it on a Saturday night for this.
Why?
I just don't like change too much with these kind of things. No real reason, but you could probably get a better game than Essendon and Richmond this Friday night. Surely.
Well, you could, but not a better occasion. Dreamtime.
No, but it's just as good an occasion on Saturday night.
Yeah, anyway, it'll be a great occasion. Obviously, Sir Doug Nicholls round, and I think Essendon, without confidence, because Richmond have been competitive for the last, probably most of the season, really.
They've been better than we
thought. Essendon just, I don't know, they just got to, I don't even know why I'm tipping Essendon, just because I assume they'll beat Richmond because I've got
technically Essendon are in the 8 on match ratio. Because they won 55% of their games as opposed to 50.
Essendon won't make the 8.
No, they won't, but if match ratio was a thing, they'd be in
true.
the 8.
That's true. They're struggling, though, with Goldstein in the ruck.
Yeah, was he 36 or so?
37. He looks really tired. And Toby Nankervis would be smarting from the towel-in he got from Tristan Cherry. Towel-in's probably too harsh, but he was beaten. Cherry was best on ground. And he'll be wanting to have an impact because their midfield got smacked last week in terms of clearance. And if they can do that...
So did Essendon's, by the way.
Yeah, they did, but they were playing the Bulldogs. They weren't playing Richmond. They weren't playing North Melbourne. The only issue is that Tom Lynch is out with concussion, which makes it much harder for them.
And Noah Bolter being a night game.
Yep.
His curfew, although listed as personal reasons, officially.
Is that right? Why? Well, they are personal.
You can't say curfew, can you?
You can say whatever, by magistrate's order.
Suspended by the magistrate.
No, I was in bed. That could be it. No one needs to go to bed.
Essendon have to win this, don't they? I covered their game last week. I didn't actually think they were disgraceful. I just thought the Dogs were in another league.
Yep.
And Essendon's ability to tackle and absorb pressure was the big difference in that game. So I would think that this week they will overcorrect on that. So you're going to see a team that's going to be really physical at the contest. And if you don't, well, then I think Essendon fans will be irate because that will give Richmond a chance. But
yeah, because Richmond do put on pressure. There was a huge amount of stoppages, record amount for this year in the North Richmond game.
Yeah,
and their pressure was huge.
That was a North Melbourne play, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Richmond's pressure was up well above 200.
So that was actually quite a good game. I quite enjoyed it. I didn't think it was a 16 v 17th standard last week in that game.
That is a classic Andrew Wu. I love this game because it's so boring.
It wasn't boring in the finish.
You just love these things.
It was a good
You
game.
are
I thought-
you're a
I thought
French
standard
art
was
house
okay.
moviegoer. Nothing's happening, but you love it. I'm tipping Essendon.
Yep, Essendon for me, 20 points. So
20 points.
We didn't get a margin
Oh.
for you in the first game.
Yeah, I did. I said a
You
point.
said a point. Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't give a margin. I said 8 points. So for
Yeah.
all our margin
Stick with
tippers.
us, mate.
Okay, next game, Saturday afternoon. Carlton against the Giants, Marvel Stadium at 12:35. That's a very early start.
Oh, my goodness. Imagine if you're watching in Perth. It's 10:30. Just crawling out of breath. How many times would you have been up before 12:35 in your 20s on a Saturday morning, unless you're working?
Well, a lot because I played a lot of footy.
Yeah,
So
I
you
don't
had to get
reckon
up.
I don't
Had to
reckon
get
I
out of
ever
bed.
did, unless I was working.
12:35. So imagine, back in the old days when you had reserves before the seniors playing, your seconds would have to be up. They'd be playing like 9 a.m.
No,
or something.
that's true. GWS, can we go through the injuries, the outs? Because I reckon it's the
Yes,
really
go through
deciding
them.
factor. So we've got Callahan,
Canelio?
Canelio, Kelly.
You can't read my handwriting.
No, I
can you?
can't. Stringer.
Josh Kelly, Jake Stringer, Brent Daniels, Stephen
You can't
Canelio.
even read your handwriting. That's great. Brent Daniels, our man.
Yeah, he's been a big loss. They're in a hole at the moment, the
They
Giants. I thought they were, after round one when they beat Collingwood, that they were, they'd be the goods this year. But that game has been the exception. Their form otherwise has been...
Well, Geelong, they were good, and Jesse Hogan got him over the line. Cause he
Yeah,
played a great
well,
game.
I mean, they got, Hogan kicked 7 and Blitzarves missed, and Geelong kicked themselves out of the game.
No,
in
that's
the end.
true. I mean, I think Wiedering will do a job on Hogan. Nick Haynes playing against his former side. You'd expect him to play a significant role down back on Cadman or Riccardi. I think they've got the personnel to beat them, plus they need a win, Carlton.
Yeah, Carlton got a few injuries as well. I had a look at their injury list. It's sneaky catching up. I mean, few of
TDK's
them-
playing, though.
Yeah, DeConing will play, Akers will play, Fogarty will play. So that's 3 of their regular senior players back in. I don't think Jack Silvani will play.
No, I don't think he will.
And Jordan Boyd, who I really rate,
He's a good...
concussed in the last minute. He just can't get a run this year. But, I mean, if Carlton are going to win, they've got to win clearance, got to win contest, and they've got to spread the load in that midfield. Because you wonder why they slowed down last week. It's because most of their centre bounces were taken by Cripps, Walsh, Shearer and Hewitt. And they had one other, and that was Motlop with 1. And you look at Sydney's mix, and they had 6 players.
You
getting
can't play
decent
them because
numbers.
Motlop, they haven't got the depth of the midfield. I know it's silly to say. It's not to denigrate the fact that they got rid of Matt Kennedy because he was a similar type player to George Hewitt. So I understand that, but that was where Jagger Smith comes home to roost, doesn't it?
Yes, that's a season changer for them. But I think still you've got to create the mix because in the end, Voss is relying on a combination that was getting beaten in the first 3 quarters in the midfield, and he expected them to somehow turn the tables in the last quarter when they were getting more tired than the other team. So it just defied logic in the end.
He was grumpy, Voss.
Well, he should have maybe looked at his own magnets.
Bit of
Yeah,
your
we moved
look in
them.
the mirror, round 1 certainty sort of stuff.
Yes, he should treat that game like a lock broken.
He was peed off.
But he had a right to be as well because they were awful in the last quarter.
Yeah, I'm tipping Carlton though, and I tip Carlton with no confidence at all.
No, I don't.
You're right though. If they win clearance, contested ball, they can win the game.
Yeah, and the Giants have been poor in that area. They give up so many inside 50s.
I know.
A lot. They've won one inside 50 count this year against
right?
West Coast.
Oh, my gosh. I'm putting the house on Carlton.
And the other things also...
They're my lock.
Peatling, Cumming and Perryman. 3 of their...
Carlton are my lock.
Oh, no. Well, you're in for a truth session next week. Okay, yeah. I'm tipping Carlton, 10 points.
My lock. What happened to me? Yep, Carlton.
That's ridiculous.
We're online all the time. Just search Age Real Footy on Facebook or Twitter.
Hawthorn against the Lions at the MCG. The reigning premiers, geez, they've had a bad 2 weeks, as I said at the top of the show. And I'm
Brisbane.
Yep.
Who are you tipping this game?
I'm tipping Hawthorn. I don't think I hope it's not an overcorrection from getting my lock busted last week, but they need to get tougher and harder. And the Hawks have got Gunston, Meek, Impey and Nash back.
Yeah, well, they missed Meek. Meek would have made a huge difference if he'd been playing in that game because Noah Anderson and Matt Rowell were able to be, particularly at the start of each quarter, they seemed to get that lead, didn't they? And it made a huge difference. It was a really good game.
And they missed Impey, they missed Nash, they had extra big body in there. But other than that, I know Sam Mitchell was a bit dirty after the game, but I don't think they did a lot wrong against Gold Coast.
No, but he could see probably things that we weren't aware of.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, they got too much. They got a lot of firepower. Brisbane, yeah, you're right. They're in a bit of a hole like the Giants. It's just that form slump. It's not a bad thing if they come out of it, but it's a minor concern at the moment.
Yeah, it's a slump in that. I mean, Brisbane and North Melbourne results. I mean, North Melbourne and Melbourne aren't good teams, but I don't think Brisbane have been at that standard throughout the year.
No.
You look at their percentage, tells you a lot at 110. So I think they're only just going.
Missing Joe Donohue?
Yes, they didn't miss him too much last week because Gardner kicked 4, so they covered for him. But what was Fagan's comment about they weren't hungry and they weren't hungry enough?
Yeah, it's interesting. Isn't it?
That's a bit of a jab. Hawthorn, this is an important tipping game because I think this is very much a 50-50 game.
Yeah.
But the Hawks generally beat Brisbane, don't they? Won their last 5, and they've been pretty ordinary in that time.
Yeah, well, it's Gunston knows all their IP and he'll come out and have a good day. Brisbane are okay at Marble Stadium, but they're not so good at MCG. So,
well, they did win a grand final.
No, I know it's kind of a fair point there.
Had a kick within a kicker winning back to back.
Oh no. Yeah. The venue still suits Hawthorn, I reckon.
Yeah, it suits them more than Brisbane, but I think Brisbane will play better and it's going to be close. I'm tipping the Hawks by a goal.
I'm tipping the Hawks by 11.
Gutsy.
Well, they'll kick a late goal, be 5 points up, and the siren will go and they'll just kick one.
Check
percentage
to get him in front in the Coleman.
Correct.
Okay, next game, Saturday night footy. We're back at Marvel Stadium, North Melbourne against Collingwood. 2 games in the one day at the venue. Do you like that?
Weird on the walkway with Carlton Collingwood supporters, particularly if the Giants win. How much fun would that be as a Collingwood supporter, just walking up and waving your flag in their face?
If you're a Carlton supporter, you might leave a bit of chewing gum on the seat for Collingwood people to sit on.
Exactly.
Don't do that though.
No. But
it'd be funny.
Yeah. You'd loosen all the salt shakers around there. That's what you do. And so when they pour it on their chips, it just goes all over them. Did you used to do that? We did. Collingwood wins.
Well, they have to, don't they? They're against North Melbourne. North Melbourne have been better though. Had been building up to a win. This was a remarkable game last year, wasn't it? North got 54 points.
Yeah, they got. This is when they went berserk, and I remember seeing it. I was covering that game, and I remember seeing a bloke in North Melbourne gear walking up the hallway at Marvel Stadium. He just said as well, I said, good half, we'll lose. And he was right. Boy, I couldn't stop thinking of him the whole game. That was a great
That's
game.
the worst nightmare for a North Melbourne supporter. Well, for any supporter, when you're 9 goals up, you're still not confident, and your worst nightmare is realised on the siren.
Right. I don't think, Collingwood won't be ambushed like they were that game. They might rest a couple. They might give Sidebottom a rest. I'm not sure what Fly's plans are.
Yeah,
but
Darcy
there was some
Moore's,
indication.
I think, likely to play, though not a certainty. Lockie Schultz misses again.
Yeah.
Dan Houston missed a bit of training.
He had a bit of calf.
But this might be the sort of game where they rest if he. When did Collingwood have their bye? They got
No, I think they go into a 5-day break is what the issue is.
this week. Okay,
Yeah.
and then they have King's birthday on the Monday. Then they must have the bye.
North will take some confidence because last week they would have gone into that game against Richmond under more pressure than we can imagine. So having got that win, they've been defending better. They will be much more competitive, but I still think Collingwood wins.
Yeah, I think Collingwood. Other game Saturday night, Walyalup against Yatapulti at Optus Stadium. That's Fremantle versus Port Adelaide. Ooh, two teams that have... They're very hard to trust, these two teams, because you don't know which one shows up from week to week.
Yep, Wally up for me.
Yep.
Fremantle, Dockers.
They were better last week, weren't they?
They have to win this.
Last 2 weeks have been good.
Port Adelaide got smashed. They've got no Horn Francis. Fremantle have to just have someone on Butters to quell him because he's a superstar. Rosie's a great player, but he's playing off halfback. He's not going to hurt you too much. Mitch Georgiadis is having to carry too big a load up forward, and Alir and Asava are not.
So there's some chance Sunday morning you pick up the paper and you're going to have Georgiadis kicking 6, Rosie with 38 off halfback, leading Yatapulti to a stirring upset victory on the road.
I think Fremantle win.
So do I.
Yeah.
About 5 goals. Next game, Sunday afternoon, Kawana against Wallich Marawa.
Excellent. They're great names.
They are good names.
Yeah, I love those Indigenous names with teams.
Crows against the Eagles, Adelaide Oval. Geez. You have to tip Adelaide, don't you? Well, I will, because I'm going to make them my lock.
Can you, West Coast, are you allowed to do that? Oh, it was Richmond that was the non-locker.
We need to update our rules.
Yeah. No. Well, West Coast, well done to break through last week and beat St Kilda, who were disappointed. Yeah, I think Adelaide should win easily, to be honest.
Yeah, they'll win by plenty. It's going to be... it was a very emotional week for the Eagles last week.
Yeah.
And on top of that, winning... that's just going to test their maturity, isn't it?
They got absolutely smashed in gather round. It was the embarrassing game against Carlton, I think it was, when they a record low contested possession. So there'll be a few nightmares when they come back to Adelaide Oval. And Adelaide have the capacity to tear a team apart with their forward line.
They can. I've tipped them by, I think maybe about 50 points, but it could get really one-sided in that one. Next game on Sunday afternoon, Nam against Sydney at the MCG. The D's against the Swans. This is the hardest game of the round to tip for me. I can't be confident either way.
No, I think Melbourne will win if Max Gawn continues his form, obviously, against Grundy, which is
former
always
teammates.
a bit of
Spice in that contest.
Yep. And actually, Brody played really well against Carlton. He was one of Sydney's better players and kicked that goal that he does every so often, a running goal.
He wore down Pitnet, didn't he, in that last quarter?
Yep. I think Melbourne, Petraka's 200th game, a lot of confidence from last week's win. They would start to believe that their system is turning and becoming one that can score. Jake Melcham's been pretty important for them. So I think that they're... a very good chance of knocking off Sydney, who have been inconsistent. I mean, they were good last week, but they still rely heavily on Heaney and their best players.
Heaney and Warner. Yeah, they both played their best games of the year. Well, Heaney last week, I had a look today, he's 38-2. I think his previous best, everything else is in the 20s in terms of possession. So there's not only just his best game, it was best game by a considerable margin.
He missed a vital goal.
He kicked 2-5, so he could have had a real night out.
Sydney looked so much better with Tom McCartan and Rampy behind the ball. That experiment didn't work at all. So I think they're starting to stiffen up a bit.
Well, how much longer are they going to play Hamling forward? Because it's...
What other option have they got? Amadi's out.
So they'll have to bring Hayden McLean in.
That was dumb from Amadi, no disrespect.
Oh, it was ridiculous. The last minute of the game. Why do that? And they lose, Francis McInerney suspended as well.
Yep.
Hamling, it's one of those moves that you kind of, it's a very short term, but I don't see a team becoming a premiership team with Hamling playing that role.
No. Well, Hamling's played in a premiership at the other end of the ground.
Playing on Buddy Franklin as well.
Yeah.
In that famous 2016 grand final. Oh, I think the Swans. I'm tipping the Swans only because I feel like their ability to play at a high level is more trustworthy than the Demons this year.
Fair enough.
So
That's when I get back from Thursday night. So we're equal.
Maybe, but I don't think we will be. Swans, 2 points. Very
Melbourne,
confident that they'll win a
Melbourne
50-50.
easily.
And the final game of the round, Euroic against Gold Coast at Marvel Stadium. Surely the Suns get this done, because this is the sort of game that they have let slip in the past. I think about 4 weeks ago when they lost to Richmond.
I reckon if you're going to take a risk, this is one to take a risk on.
Really?
I'm tipping Gold Coast. All right? I'm not taking a risk.
I don't think you need to
Marvel
take a risk.
Stadium, no. Well, Marvel Stadium, we saw what St Kilda did to Freo. They clogged them up. They're smarting from their defeat by the Eagles last week. Gold Coast lost at Marvel Stadium just recently. There's a few things that you can create, make a case for the Saints causing the upset. Gold Coast coming off to a week in Darwin.
You should do it then. You should tip.
I'm making a
Saints.
case. I'm just saying that I still think
Don't
Gold
lead
Coast
down
will prevail.
Don't lead our punters into doing something that you wouldn't do.
All right, we'll tip Gold Coast then.
I'm tipping Gold Coast, but I do think it'll be a test of their maturity. Jack McRae's a big out for the Saints.
Isn't it great we say a test of people's maturity when we fail it every week? What would we know?
We don't.
No.
We don't know anything.
No, got no idea about maturity. But we'll watch it in action on Sunday night.
The Sunday graveyard.
Yeah, the graveyard.
This is your favourite time slot, isn't it?
I think I might be at Melbourne, Sydney, actually, working that game. So I rarely see the Sunday twilight game, but it is a good game to watch. When
You've generally worked off your Friday night by Sunday afternoon.
No, that's not true. I'm so quiet. It should be a good game. Gold Coast just need to get the job done, as you say.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a good game. I think Gold Coast will win. But the Saints, how many
Saints
people
have lost 5 of their last 6.
But they're struggling. How many of their fans are going to show up for this? This has the potential to have a real stinking crowd.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. They'll get 20,000, won't they?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
They'll get that famous actor. What's his name?
Eric Banner.
Yeah, I do know who it was. I just wanted to say that he goes every week, doesn't he?
I don't know, does he?
No, well,
You
you'd
see,
hope
you
so.
see him in the rooms when he does go. Lets
Yeah.
everyone know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all we have time for today. Scintillating stuff. Thanks for joining us. You can see the rest of the experts' tips at theage.com.au/AFL. Make sure to subscribe, rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to get in touch with us, send us an email to realfootypod@theage.com.au. We'd love to hear from you. Podcast will return on Monday. Thanks for listening, and may your team win.